Bonjour. उर्दू आमोजिश में आप सबको खुश आमदीद. Today we will be talking about conjugation. आज हम किरदार के बारे में गुफ्तगू करेंगे. Let's go. आइए, c'est parti. First, let's quickly go over the present tenses that you have already learned. Zamana e hal, zamana e haser, amochta. So for fele hal jari, first for the first example of rehna, मैं रह रहा और मैं रह रही हूँ. तुम रख रहे, तुम रख रही हो. वो ले रहा, वो ले रही है. वो दे रहे, वो दे रही हैं. हम खरीद रहे हैं. आप आ रहे हैं, आप आ रही हैं. वो जा रहे हैं, वो जा रही हैं. Now, फ़ेल हाल मुतलक for करना. मैं करता हूँ, मैं करती हूँ. तुम करते, तुम करती हो. वो करता, वो करती है. वो करते, वो करती हैं. हम करते हैं. आप करते हैं, आप करती हैं. वो करते हैं, वो करती हैं. And for फ़ेल हाल for होना. मैं हूँ, तुम हो, वो है for informal, and वो है for standard. हम हैं, आप हैं, वो हैं. And just a reminder, the forms of रहना are रह रहा, रही, and रहे, and रहता, रहती, and रहते. Forms of करना are कर रहा, कर रही, कर रहे, and करता, करती, करते. Forms of होना, simple present that we just went over, हूँ, हो, है, हैं. Habitual होता, होती, होते, which means happens or is, habitually happens, or habitually is. Continuously, हो रहा, रही, or हो रहे, which is to become for animate objects, and is happening or being for inanimate objects. So here are two examples. ये हर वक्त होता है, which means this happens all the time, or ये हमेशा होता है, which means this always happens. Then दुकान बंद हो रही है, the store is closing. Compound present perfect. फ़ेल हाल मुकम्मल मुरक्कब. Also, just to note, I pronounced this word as markup previously, but I looked it up and it's actually pronounced murakkab. So it's spelled the same way in Urdu, because in Urdu, short vowels aren't written, but long vowels are. And this word has no long vowels written. So, meaning it, like the word doesn't even have long vowels. So this is pronounced murakkab, but marhab is also written the same way, and that means something different. So फ़ेल हाल मुकम्मल मुरक्कब. So now let's get started. So for this we use the verb chukna. However, I don't think really anybody knows the infinitive of the verb, but the infinitive is chukna. And so it's a defective modal verb, such as like can in English. It does not exactly have an infinitive. You have to say to be able to, or falloir in French, because that only has one form. And you have to use the participles perfective in this instance, and they are the only forms of the verb commonly used to form one of the present perfect tenses, and is primarily employed as a compound verb. So it means to have like already completed something, and the action must already be done, finished, or completed by the person sometime in the past. but like more of like the immediate past. So like the participles are chuka, chuki, and chuke. For the example on the right, in blue are the compound present perfect for something that has been already done using chukna. So that's what we're focusing on today. In red is the present perfect for in general, and they use their corresponding participles, which will be covered in future videos. So I think I kept on calling participles particles. They're participles. So the ones in red you're going to learn later because they have some irregular participles. But for now we're focusing on the blue ones. But I just put them for comparison. I've tried. मैं कोशिश कर चुका हूँ, as in I've already tried. For example, I've tried to open the door. मैंने दरवाज़ा खोलने की कोशिश की है, which be in general. And मैं दरवाज़ा खोलने की कोशिश कर चुका हूँ means I've like already tried to open the door. So I've tried it. The red one is मैंने कोशिश की है. We've exercised or we've done exercise already. हम वर्जिश कर चुके हैं. We've exercised or done exercise in general. हमने वर्जिश की है. They've come to our house previously. वो हमारे घर आ चुके हैं. They've come to our house. वो हमारे घर आए हैं. The last one could mean two things. वो हमारे घर आए हैं meaning they've come to our house like they are presently in our house. Or it can also mean that they have come to our house before. But as like in English and also in Urdu, this sentence would be unclear. Whereas with the chuke hai, that is clear that they have come to our house previously. Verbs. Afal. So you did verbs 1 through 20, and they were largely like simple verbs. Today is kind of a mix. It's mostly simple verbs, but then for a lot of the English verbs, there are multiple verbs because they have different nuances. So to know is jana. Stem is John. This also means like, a life, but that's a different thing. But so this means sort of like to be familiar with. Then there's malum hona or pata hona, which is more like to know facts or information. Then one of the words for knowledge is ilm. To think is sochna, or also khayal hona or khayal karna. Khayal karna can also mean to like sort of pay attention or like, pay heed, something like that. Thinking is goro fikr or soch bichar. Also, I would like to mention that when you say, I think we should do something, that is expressed by khayal hona, whereas someone is like thinking like with their mind, that would be sochna. To understand or to comprehend is samajna, and the regional form of this is bujna. I personally haven't heard this, but then it was in most dictionaries, and it makes sense because the noun of understanding or comprehension is samaj buj. So samaj buj, so it makes sense that it is a verb, but I personally haven't heard it used in Urdu. And the word, as we went over, was samaj buj, and we're just going over some of the words and the verbs, but there are lots of verbs that I have put on the page that you'll see, but we're going over the most important ones. To learn is seekhna, and a more formal verb, this is Aamozish karna or Aamozish farmana, which is the name of this series, Ourdou Aamozish. So, and learning is Aamozish. Then to read is parna, and like reading of something is parai. To study, you use what you just learned, reading, and you put karna. So parai karna means to study for like a, school. To do like a formal study, like, medical study or something. For that, you use mutala, or an alternative pronunciation, mutala karna. Then to read a lesson, so there are two words for lesson, dars and sabak, and amokhta means an older lesson or something that you have learned or been taught. And so dars, sabak, amokhta, parna. And those are the three words for lesson. And then, as we just said, a study, as in a formal study, is a mutala or mutalia. To write is likhna, and a more formal a way of expressing this is tahrir karna. To compose is tasneef karna, and then writing is likhai, composition is tasneef, script is tahrir, and more formal ways of expressing writing are navisht and nigarish. To eat is khana, or more formally, tanawul karna or tanawul farmana. To eating food is, the more formal word is tanawul ta'am. So the food has a lot of words, khana. Ta'am is the more formal word for food, and tanawul is the formal word for eating. Then eating and drinking is khilai pilai. To drink is pina, and more formally nosh karna or nosh farmana. To drinking water, not like potable water, but just, generally drinking like water, drinking juice or whatever, is nosh ab. Then eating and drinking, the more formal word is Ourdou Aamozish. To wash is dhona, and to do cleaning is safai karna. You learned saaf karna, that's more like to clean, more specifically. To do cleaning, like in general, is safai karna. Then washing is dhalai, and washing and cleaning is called safai sutrai, or washing and cleansing, or safai sutrai can also just be used for cleaning and like neatening, and shusto show is a more formal way of expressing that. And as I mentioned, like in French, to know is expressed by multiple verbs in Urdu. Janna more is closely, like the meaning is closer to being familiar or personally acquainted with something, while malum hona is for being cognizant or au courant with information. Pata hona goes with about something, while malum hona is more general. So example, मुझे लंदन के बारे में पता है, I know of, or I know like about London in that sense. 2, मैं लंदन जानता हूँ, I am familiar, or I am acquainted with all of London. So if you can see the nuance here, मुझे लंदन के बारे में पता है, I know like that London exists, and मैं लंदन जानता हूँ, that means I know like all of London, like everything about London, and like all the roads or all the ways of London, and that like sense. Then 3 and 4 are interchangeable because you can be both familiar with and know a fact or information, so that's why they are interchangeable. आपको तारीख मालूम है, do you know the date? And आप तारीख जानते हैं, are you like familiar, or there's a sense more like, are you aware of the date? Examples, मिसालें, do you know the time? आपको वक्त मालूम है? I think we should try. मेरे ख्याल में हमें कोशिश करनी चाहिए. So you saw here, मेरे ख्याल में, that literally means in my thought, not thoughts, that's khayalat, but in my thought. That's how you express, I think we ... So, मेरे ख्याल में हमें कोशिश करनी चाहिए. Also, it's koshish karni because, it depends on the gender of the thing. So it's feminine. That's what karni. I'm not following her. I'm not understanding. मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. So this is using the continuous. That is, I'm not like following right now. Not just I don't understand generally. That's different. That you learned in a previous video. I learn Urdu daily. मैं रोज़ाना उर्दू सीखता हूँ. I've read this book. मैं ये किताब पढ़ चुका हूँ. I've done my studying. मैं अपनी पढ़ाई कर चुका हूँ. He has written the letter. वो खत लिख चुके हैं. Have you eaten? आप खा चुके हैं? We've drunk or drunken tea. हम चाय पी चुके हैं. So drunk or drunken are both the past participle of to drink in English, but drunk is probably the more modern one and drunken is kind of the older one. She has washed the clothes. वो कपड़े धो चुकी हैं. So the present perfect progressive tense, which is in English, is expressed just by the present continuous tense in Urdu, but usually with a noun, like sort of indicating the time. So I have been reading a book since morning. मैं सुबह से किताब पढ़ रहा हूँ और रही हूँ. And I am reading a book is just मैं किताब पढ़ रहा और पढ़ रही हूँ. So that सुबह से is indicating the present perfect progressive instead of just the present continuous or present progressive. Practice or exercise, mashq ya tamreen. Complete the practice exercise incorporating the compound present perfect tense and the new verbs you have learned, 21 through 30. So some new verbs and nouns you need for the exercise. To inquire is मालूम करना और पता करना. To help is मदद करना. An article, as in like a newspaper article, is mazmoon, and an apple, like the fruit, is seb. And take a moment to do 1 through 10. Also, the most common verb for to choose is passons karna, which is actually to like. So intikhab karna, muntahib karna are used for more formal settings. And chunna is more commonly employed for like to pick or pluck off. In Pakistan, chunna really isn't used for the definition of to choose. I think it might be more common in India for that definition. But so pasand karna is the most common verb for to choose. So take a moment to do the exercise. Exemplary responses, misali jawabat. So I know or I'm familiar with him. मैं उन्हें जानता हूँ. I am thinking that we should inquire where is the restroom. So this is kind of a wordy sentence, and it's completely fine if you made a mistake. But that's in Urdu is मैं सोच रहा हूँ कि हमें मालूम करना चाहिए कि गुस्ल खाना और बैतुल खला कहाँ है. Are you understanding? आप समझ रहे हैं? He is learning English. वो अंग्रेजी सीख रहे हैं. So you previously, I told you that for like French, you have yours. It's better if you say Francis Zaban. That's because Francisi means French in general. It can mean both people or language or whatever. For English, Angrez is the word for the English people or English-speaking people, and Angrezi is the language. So you don't have to put Zaban. for the others, you don't have to put zuban either, but it's kind of vague in Urdu, so it's better to put log or zuban. But for English, you don't have to because it's not vague. So wo अंग्रेजी सीख रहे हैं. I've read this Urdu article. मैं ये उर्दू मज़मून पढ़ चुका हूँ. Do you need help with studying? आपको पढ़ाई में मदद चाहिए? She has written her message. वो अपना पैगाम लिख चुकी है. I've eaten an apple. मैं सेब खा चुका हूँ. She has drunk the tea. वो चाय पी चुकी है. This is number 10 is also kind of wordy. He has washed the clothes and is then going to choose a car. वो कपड़े धो चुके हैं और फिर गाड़ी पसंद करने जा रहे हैं. Summary, khulasa. So today we did the present tenses that you have previously learned before. The new tense for today, zamana hal, zamana hazir, amukhta. We did the present perfect, the one that is in the compound type. Fa'al hal mukammal, murakkab. We did verbs 21 through 30. Afal, 21 se 30. And then we did practice or exercise, mashq or tamreen. And I hope you all liked today's video. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment down below for any help or anything like that, or just, your general thoughts, suggestions, anything like that. I hope you're all taking care of yourselves. And Khuda Hafiz and Akhifa.